The Industrial Revolution began in England during the 1700s and spread to America in the late 1800s. It would forever change how business worked. For the first time in history, more goods were being made by machines than by hand. Until the late 1800s, most businesses were owned solely by one person or a few partners. Advances in technology led business owners to want to buy new equipment. Turning their businesses into corporations was one way to generate the necessary funding. A corporation is a business owned by investors who buy a part of the company as shares of stock. Corporations had advantages over privately owned businesses. They can raise money by selling stock, keep existing after the founders die, are more likely to be lent money, and pose less risk to investors if they fail. Few laws limited corporations during the late 1800s, which allowed massive corporations to dominate American industry. These corporations that wipe out their competitors and gain control over an industry were called monopolies. Two examples were the oil and steel industries. John D. Rockefeller was the head of the oil industry. He built his first oil well in 1863. Rockefeller thought that the best way to make money was to put his competitors out of business. He made secret agreements with railroads to carry his oil at a lower rate than opponents' oil. Rockefeller also built and bought his own pipelines to carry his oil. One of his most famous plans to end competition was forming the Standard Oil Trust in 1882. A trust is a legal body created to hold stock in many companies. The trust controlled 95% of all oil manufacturing in the U.S. The trust was able to set a high price for oil as they were the only purveyors of it. The public was forced to pay this high price because they had no other option. As the head of Standard Oil, Rockefeller made millions of dollars, but gained a reputation as a robber baron, or a business leader who became wealthy through dishonest methods. Other companies were inspired by Rockefeller to create trust in the sugar, cotton oil, and lead mining industries. Though many people thought that they were unfair, the government was slow to pass laws regulating them. Andrew Carnegie controlled the steel industry. Instead of trying to control the competition like Rockefeller, he aimed to outdo them by selling the best and cheapest product. In order to do this, Carnegie sought control over all processes related to steel manufacturing. He bought the mines that supplied iron ore, as well as the ships and railroads that carried the iron ore to his mills. Carnegie's company dominated the United States steel industry for 12 years, from 1889 to 1901, when he sold it to J.P. Morgan, the nation's most distinguished banker. Both Rockefeller and Carnegie were multimillionaires and philanthropists. A philanthropist is someone who gives away large amounts of money to charity. One of the most well-known modern-day philanthropists is Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, who has given away upwards of $28 billion. Rockefeller donated to the University of Chicago and Rockefeller University in New York. Carnegie gave money to universities and built hundreds of public libraries. Over the course of his life, Rockefeller gave over $500 million, and Carnegie gave upwards of $350 million. These large corporations caused serious problems. They could charge whatever price they wanted and put smaller companies out of business. Customers constantly feared that prices would rise. This led Americans to take action against monopolies, demanding that the government intervene. Congress passed two laws, the Interstate Commerce Act and the Sherman Antitrust Act. The Interstate Commerce Act, passed in 1887, stated that railroad rates must be reasonable and just. The Sherman Antitrust Act, passed in 1890, made it illegal to form trusts and monopolies. They were both hard to enforce at first, but are still in effect today. Rags to riches stories like Carnegie's or Rockefeller's inspired Americans to believe that they too could be rich.